Welcome back to the afternoon brief session of the Board of County Commissioners regular meeting. It's Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. We have one item up for review, and it's the item number 10 on the Public Works 10A. It's a fifth reading and deliberations of Ordinance 2504 in the matter of amending the Land Management Division's building program fee schedule. PM NBA and Keir Miller, our Land Management Division Manager, is here to give us the latest updates on this item. So go ahead, Keir.
Thank you, Chair Lovell, and good afternoon, Commissioners. I understand we have a limited amount of time with Budget Committee coming up, so I will be brief. On March 11th and April 8th, the Board held a public hearing on the proposed amendments to the Land Management Division's fee schedule. On April 29th, the Board approved amendments to the Division's planning, sanitation, stormwater, and code enforcement fees, and tentatively approved amendments to the Division's building program fees. These fee adjustments are necessary to close a $1.2 million operating deficit in Land Management's budget. Based on public input provided during the hearing process, the Board elected to phase in the necessary fee increases over a 3-year period. In addition, the Board exempted certain permits from the increases. These included permits necessary to site more affordable housing types such as ADUs, emergency RVs, and homes within manufactured home parks. During the Board's deliberations on April 29th, concerns were raised regarding the efficiency of operations within the division. As I understand it, at least one commissioner has heard from constituents expressing concerns that the division should be pursuing efficiency measures before requesting a fee increase to address the rising costs of providing service. In response to this concern, I will point out once again that between 2009 and 2013, the division's staffing was reduced by a full 50%, and that over the last several years, as we have slowly restaffed, our team has embraced numerous efforts to maximize the efficiency of our operations. As LMD has implemented these measures, there have been significant and measurable improvements in key performance areas, including permit processing timelines, in-customer service wait times, callback wait times, and code enforcement responsiveness. I've discussed these efficiency measures in more detail during previous work sessions with the Board, but some of the key improvements are highlighted on this slide. One area that I want to quickly highlight again is the recently launched Electronic Permit Application Submittal System, or EPAS system. This system does two things. First, through a series of questions and prompts, it guides the public through the process to determine what types of permits are needed for a particular project and in what order they are needed to be submitted. Second, it helps them submit permits for these complex processes and explains what information is necessary to help ensure that the applications are complete. Development of this system required a significant amount of staff time from multiple individuals across the division. This type of an important initiative simply would not have been feasible to accomplish in years past when LMD was so drastically understaffed. In addition to helping the public navigate the complex permitting process, development of this system provided a perfect opportunity for our team to step back and comprehensively review our processes for clarity and efficiency. Working with our business partners in TS, staff mapped out and analyzed the majority of our most common application types to identify bottlenecks, reduce friction, and identify the most efficient path for permits to move through our office. As I mentioned, these efforts have resulted in a number of measurable improvements. I've shown the board some of these statistics before, but again, I just want to highlight the next few slides demonstrate some of the improvements we've seen in processing permit timelines over the last several years. As you can see, our Type 1 land use permits have reduced in average time from 75 to 33 days last year. This year, we're on track to issue permits in just 3 weeks. Type 2 land use decisions have dropped from 126 days to approximately 51.9 days, although that's not because we're still, those permits can take up to 6 months to process, so that data is not totally complete for 2025. I think 2024 is a more realistic indicator, but that still shows, a nearly 40-day reduction in timelines. And finally, commercial plan review has dropped from nearly 60 days to 27 days. Finally, I need to again remind viewers that if we are unable to address our structural deficit, we will need to reduce expenses. Unfortunately, the bulk of our expenditures are labor costs. Diminishing our highly talented and professional team will impact the services we provide. And while we hope it would not be the case, staff reductions would almost certainly stall and likely reverse many of the improvements we have seen. These include improvements in permit processing timelines, customer service, and code enforcement. At this time, the board is being asked to formally adopt ordinance number 25-04 to implement changes in the LMD building program fee schedule effective July 1. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any questions from the board? Commissioner Farr, please.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation, Kieran, the clear slides. Just a question for you. This is a 3-year, 3-step fee increase, correct? And the way it's written currently, we talked a little bit about last time about perhaps addressing the second year's fee increase in 1 year rather than programming it right now. And as it's written, it's programmed to increase if we do nothing without any discussion of the board regarding the happenings over the course of the next year. Is that correct?
The direction we received is we would come back for a work session with the board prior to the next implementation of the fee increase.
Okay, and see if I can describe that, what that work session might be. We would review the progress of LMD toward your goal of making services, making your programs and services more efficient. Is that? Will that characterize what that work session is? I
think that would be part of it. We could also look at our financial situation at that time and see if we're still on track to actually require those 7% increases as well.
Okay. And Chair Lovell and the board, that more or less covers the question that I had last time regarding the 3-step increase, is that we would, before the second increase is in place, we would have a board work session to review progress and to take a look at the financial situation at that point in time. So that is, at this point, that, unless I hear different, that satisfies the question that I had when we last had the work session on this item. What was the date on that? That was 2 weeks ago?
That's correct. That was April 29th.
So that satisfies the questions that I had at that time, that in 1 year, before the second step is implemented, that this board would take a look at the workings, the inner workings of LMD and review the financial situation at the time. So, thank you, Kieran.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
What would be the mechanism if the board chose not to implement the 7% at that time? Because a work session is, there's no action item, nothing's happening. What would that look like? Because And I'll just explain why, is I was under the impression that we were gonna implement a 7%, and then before the next 7% was implemented, it would come back to the board. But it sounds like the interpretation was that was just a work session.
I think the direction was a work session, and then we could, at that time, if the board chose not to implement the fee schedule, they could give us direction to change direction at that time.
Okay. And then just going through some of the fees, some of them are 7%, others aren't. Do you have any, like I'm looking at, like page 9, 7% of 637. It goes up to 731. 1,000 square foot change is 596 at 7%. It's not 731, but it shows that being the increase.
Well, there's a 7% increase in the base fees, but the valuation tables that we use, those aren't changing. So certain fees in the fee schedule won't show an increase, but overall, the base fees of certain fees are, let me see if I can explain this better. The state creates these valuation tables that basically says, this type of construction is valued at X dollars per square foot. We're not adjusting that. What we're adjusting is our base fees. So the fee schedule will not show some specific increases. And the other piece is that we have exempted certain building permit types from this fee increase to address affordable housing issues. So those two won't show with the 7% fee increase.
Okay, so 596 plus 7% would be 637, but here it says proposed base fee would be 731. I'm just curious what that,
I'm sorry,
Is
could you
that-
show me which fee you're referring to?
yeah, on page 9, at the bottom, it says, it looks like it's an addition for 1,000 square foot or change of occupancy. I was just kind of going through some of the fees and looking at them, and I said, well, that looks high for 7%. And some of them are high, the more I started to look at it.
I just applied a 7% formula to the whole spreadsheet and had them all update automatically, so I'm not,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So this isn't necessarily factual over here. I mean, it'll be an actual 7% increase on what our current permit fee is.
Well, it should be factual unless there's like a formula error or something, but the board order says 7%. So it would be 7%. And I'm sorry, I'm still not finding that specific.
So it's page 9 on the whole presentation. At the very bottom, under commercial for multifamily work without permits,
It's the very last line of Exhibit 1 of the table.
exhibit 1. Well, there's a lot of exhibit 1s, but
It's the last line of the table in our packet before the slide presentation.
Okay. Commercial work without permits. So I show, like, for example, the first line on that, single discipline, only final inspection remaining, 125, 7% increase, $134. Are we looking at the same thing?
single discipline or family final inspection remaining?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine says proposed base fee increase 7% rounded to the dollar. So mine says 125 and 154. I'm looking at the wrong.
Is that on the attachment for the most current? That might have been the 22.5% that was originally proposed back in, when we started this in February, and then we had reduced it to the 7%. So I'm wondering if, for some reason, that attachment was included in the most current online board materials, but I think is presented on the 29th, which is the packet I have in front of me.
Yeah, I just went back to the downloaded. I don't know. On 429, yeah, my view material says 154. It's weird it says the proposed base fee of 7%.
Well, I can say it's intended to be 7%. The ordinance states it's 7%, so I think it's just a matter of including the right attachment to the ordinance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Yeah, the line you're referring to, 20% equates from 596 to 721.16, not 731, so even it's over 21%. So just for the public's view, we need to kind of review those to make sure those are accurate. Yeah, I think I was the one, the commissioner you referred to as far as efficiency goes. I think where I'm standing on this issue is I'm in agreement with Commissioner Farr on allowing a 7% increase going forward and then reviewing it again in a year, because I think my basic stick in the mud for this issue is the How and Man report. There's 28 items on there I still want to address. We haven't addressed specifically yet. There's chapters 13 and 14 I still want to specifically address that we haven't addressed specifically. And I think those, for me to be comfortable saying we've done everything we can to the constituents and then we had to raise fees, I think I could justify it in my heart for those matters being going forward if we had the prior matters settled. So that's where I'm at on this particular item. Any other discussion to the item? Yeah, Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to remind my colleagues that part of being able to structure the 7% over the next 3 years is to make sure that this division is financially sound. And that, I have to say, is one of my #1 priorities, because this division has not been able to completely fund itself for a very long time. And we're just about to go into our budget meeting, and we have, 9 different funds that are not structurally sound. And this is our opportunity to make one of the big ones actually pencil out. And I agree that upfront, the 22% didn't make a lot of sense for the customer. That's just a lot amount to put in right at once, right? This is really a compromise so that over the next 3 years, we can review it, and I'm happy to review it annually if we need to in advance of the next implementation of the 7%. I think that's fair, but I just want to put on the table that if we don't find a way over the next consecutive years, that we're never going to see this department financially sound. So for that, I'd really like to stay with what we ultimately ended with at the last meeting on this item and the direction that we have currently, and make sure that we put into place the 7% increases over the next 3 years, knowing that truly at any time we can come back and change those. But for now, making sure that our budget is shored up for the year is of high importance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Kira, I support the 7%. I will say, I also agree that we need to keep LMD whole. I'm thinking of things our wise county administrator has said in the past, that if we're going to raise fees, I would like to see something for those fees. If we're asking for more money, what extra services are we going to provide? And for example, you've opened up Florence, that office staff out in Florence, and that's been very helpful. So those are things we are doing. What about, is it possible to get back to, and this is going to sound kind of simple, but to answering the phone when people call? Because I get a lot of concerns or a lot of complaints about people that are out in, for example, the coast, where they don't always have cell service. They call up. Within 2 days, they get a phone call, and they get a phone call just like we say we will. But they oftentimes can't answer the phone, or something happened, and then they start back over again. Mm-hmm. Is there any way of making that more efficient for our rural constituents? I mean, they might call on their cell phone, or they have a job and they can only talk during breaks or lunch, something like that, so they don't have to take time off work just for a simple question they might have for LMD.
Yes, absolutely. I understand the concern, and that part of the staff, actually the most recent addition to our staff that we hired is an additional senior office assistant, and they've just completed their training, and their role is to act as that receptionist for LMD. We've had that function kind of on and off for the last year or two, but it's been moving among positions, and now we do have a person able to be the full-time reception person for LMD.
Excellent. I think that goes a long ways for just having somebody answer the phone when people call, so I appreciate that.
And Vice Chair, if I could, I can respond better to your question about the discrepancy between the fees in the attachment. So just maybe a half hour before I came down here, I had an emergency email to the board's Jessica Gebb to update the packet that was online because one of the slides in the PowerPoint was incorrect. What I did was I attached the most correct slides to an old PDF version of this packet, and that's what was posted. So from last Thursday until recently, it looks like it should have been the correct fees were shown on there. So I apologize. That's a recent mistake. We can correct that.
Technology. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. I think just in the interest of time, since we have Budget Committee members probably waiting, I am prepared to make a motion if you'd like to entertain it, and then if there is discussion to the motion that hasn't been addressed in the conversation, we can do that. And whether you're ready for a motion or not, I do want to acknowledge your continued concerns about operations in LMD. And I know we have an open, I wanted to confirm with either Kira or administrator, we have an open assignment still. So those issues, we have opportunities to address and learn more about what's being done procedurally and operationally in the division to address those concerns. Is that not right? We still have an open.
We have a work session that is coming either June 10th or June 24th.
Great.
We're trying to schedule some things, but there's a work session with LMD on legal lot
Legal lots,
verifications
yep.
that's coming back. And I think as part of that, we can have a discussion with the board about the review that was done, the Howman review, and just any direction from the board that you want to give us on that.
Great, thank you. But since, this is a fifth reading, there's no new data. We've already tentatively approved it. As I recall, it's just a matter of we were weighing 10 versus 7%. We landed on the 7, and that's why we're back today to actually adopt the ordinance. So if the chair would like, I'd be happy to make a motion, and then should it receive a second, if there's still discussion, we can do that, but I am mindful of the time.
As I am too, but please go ahead.
Great, then I would like to approve the fifth reading and deliberations and have a vote considering the approval of ordinance number 25-04 in the matter of amending the Land Management Division's building program fee schedule effective July 1st, 2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second and speak to the motion.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the motion, Commissioner Trieger. Three things came up today. One, Commissioner Senega talked about answering the phones, and you got an immediate response. And second, we talked about a work session to cover the Howman report, and I think that's on target already. And the third was that you had, I forget the third, but there was a third one also. But that being said, Kira, I recognize the work that you're doing, and you're trying to be as responsive as you possibly can and trying to make things as efficient as possible. That's your job. And I think you put your best foot forward at all time. The motion that we're passing today, a part of it is we'll look in a year and see the progress that you've made. See, I like that little step chart with a massive change on the side, because that's the way we've been working since I got here, step. And sometimes you get a setback for one reason or another, and the steps upward don't continue upward. In the next year, we'll take a look at the continued rise up the step to make the department more outwardly friendly, shall we say. And one way is if somebody calls, somebody will answer. And if you're moving in the right direction. So, Kira, I'm satisfied that that's happening. I'm glad that in a year we'll take another look at it. And I'm also glad that, as Mr. Mokrahajski just pointed out, that we have the legal lot adjustment discussion at the same time. We'll take a look at the Howman report and see where the progress is on that. So I think I'm satisfied with the movement forward on this, and I will vote yes on this motion. Thank you.
Any further discussion of the motion? Seeing none, this is an ordinance. Let me rephrase. Commissioner Trieger moved to approve ordinance 2504, amending the Land Management Division's building program fee schedule for a 7% increase effective July 1, 2025. It was seconded by Commissioner Farr, and this is a roll call vote. So if you will, Mr. Morkowski, please proceed.
Commissioner Senega,
Yes.
Commissioner Trieger,
Yes?
Commissioner Buck,
Aye.
Commissioner Farr,
Yes.
and Commissioner Lovall.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kier. All accolades, tough job. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep plowing forward. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And the third was the math error that you fixed before the end of the sentence.
There you go. Exactly. Good work. Our next Board of County Commissioner meeting will be Tuesday, May 20th, 9 a.m. Harris Hall. We thank you for all attending. We are adjourned.